I'll just get right into it and say hello to all the weirdos out there. This is another episode of Monster and the Ape, sort of, but really it's the countdown to WrestleMania. No, no, wait, no, it's the countdown to TerribleFest 6. We have Devon with us. Um, Devon has been with us before, but not on a show, but he's been in Terrible Fest before. We threw in on our first pandemic, closed to the public, only to the internet airwaves version. The only time we ever did that for Terrible Fest. Devon joined us and we played Gorfers. And we've never forgotten it. And so somehow we weren't upset enough by that that we invited Devin back. So we'll be seeing Killer Balloon this year, actually opening up the fest on the first day, right, bam, right at the beginning on Friday, the 24th of next month. We are so glad to have you back, Devin. Thanks for being here also on this show as I get around to actually pressing play on Monster and the Ape.
Thank you for letting me join this. This is exciting. I'm when I watched that Gore First thing, I was very nervous. Seeing the comments and that, I was like, oh, these people are gonna hate this movie and throw like negative comments. I didn't watch the comments for at least 5 minutes. And then I started like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna watch and see what happens. And people loved it. It was really cool seeing that.
Weird thing for well one I point out that the point of Terrible Fest when we do it at a very small theater, but I really pick and choose the kind of people that I get to follow us in our sort of weird group. So they're people that I know want to see this and know get it. It's in their world, or at least they get why these things exist. So yeah, you're not gonna. It's not like when a random popular YouTube channel goes on a wave of playing B movies and says, "Isn't B movies really hip this summer? So we're gonna play some." And then an average audience who doesn't get it are like, "Oh yeah, great, Birdemic 3, awesome."
I love the cheesy ones, obviously. I love the old classic ones. Even go back to like Puppet Master and like Jack Frost, Uncle Sam. All those cheesy B movies was a big inspiration for me, I think.
Thinking as we're watching cheesy B movie, we're all the way back in 1945 for this serial, and I weird episodes 1 and 2 I had in good quality, but episode 3 I can't even see this at all, which is fine because when Bruce and I watched episode 2, I wasn't paying any attention, so I don't know where we are. All I will tell you is if you don't know anything about the serial, it's about an escaped gorilla that's attacking the town at the same time that an evil scientist has stolen a robot from an older, gooder scientist, and so there's two problems happening in the city, and the police just don't know what to do.
Nice.
That's all you need to know. At some point, you'll see a guy in a gorilla suit who I believe is not Crash, whatever his name is, the legend of gorilla suit wearing, and you'll see a ridiculous robot, which I feel are both down your alley for the types of things you would make.
I'm down for all that kind of things. I love the weirdness in horror movies.
Before we get into talking about Killer Balloon that people will see next month, let's talk about what's coming up. The one that you've just finished, a sequel to one of your films.
We just wrapped up Swift Nightmares 2 about a few months ago, and it's about kind of like Tales from the Crypt and Tales from the Dark Side kind of thing, where there's like three stories, and then there's like one story that connects everything together. And it's a sequel to one we made back in 2013. So it's been a few years since we made the original.
Because you've been doing these for a long time. You've been doing it for the concept of really you'll throw one together almost every year. It looks like.
Yeah.
You're only reining to about an hour. What's the longest film you've made?
This one actually coming up is about an hour and 35 minutes.
Oh,
It'd be the longest we've ever done.
well, eventually we all have to film professionally somehow. I guess do a real story, a real movie. Um, a big thing that takes my heart from the stuff that you do is when you make these films, then you play them and you raise money for the SPCA in your area. What's the connection to that? What brought you into that?
SBCA has been like a huge part of my life. Animals, I've grew up with them since I was a kid. I had cats, I had bunnies, I had dogs. My parents were huge animal lovers, so I got that passion and love for animals from them. and I adopted all my dogs from SPCA. I had two that passed away a couple of years ago, and then I got two left, and they're from the SPCA, and they're always there for me. That's the big thing about those dogs. I could have the most shittiest day of my life. I can come home, and they are like so pumped up to see me, and then I just forget about all my problems.
It's the a thing that I push to a lot of people. I went through a phase of being, I mean, I'm always a dog lover, but I went through a phase of really getting into to breeders because I knew a bunch of people who had more kind of fancy dogs. I know a bunch of people who were breeding like Bernese mountain dogs and stuff like that. For my first dog of my own outside of my family was a Chow Chow, so it weren't the kind of dogs that were easier to find. However, my Chow Chow was not from a breeder. My Chow Chow was actually a because it wasn't a purebred, so something happened with its family, and it was given to another family, and then was unhomed within its first year. Because and that put this thought in my head of like, it's a generalization, but it put this sort of like to say it just made me angry with breeders in general that it became this sort of snobby world. It's a business, and all of a sudden they could like not care about this dog, which was my best friend for 10 years. So the concept of like telling everyone I know all the time, get a rescue pet, get a rescue dog, because there's so many. I would like to say to the world, you don't need to do that, but that would involve there being a world where there wasn't hundreds and hundreds of dogs that need homes. So I'm, as a person who's always had a lot of pets and has been around families who are were people with show dogs and things like that. I'm constantly telling people, no, don't go to these people to get these fancy dogs. That there'll be plenty of other people to do that. They don't need your business. There are dogs that need you, and especially if you're looking for family dogs, they're the ones that you get these moments where you look at in those places and think they're so sad because it is sad, but the extreme happiness that these dogs become once they find a home, it's magical. You'll never see anything different than that.
Oh, they appreciate it so much. Like my one I adopted back in July or June recently. He was a Bernese mountain dog.
Oh, there you go. So you're right as I was about to say, because all these people had their I knew had those for a while.
He's cute. He's super nice, but he's very scared of people, and he shows a bit of aggression because the way he was brought up. And he's starting to loosen up a bit more because he feels comfortable. He's safe more. So he's becoming a different dog. So
There's so many people who think that it's so difficult because it seems like it is, and at the beginning it is. But the amount of people that have worried about getting those type of dogs, and then every one of them that I know, every single one has, and I mean, again, I could just be very lucky, and these people could be very lucky, but so it's nothing to take lightly. But for all the people I've met who've struggled to take that chance with those type of animals, they've all had great, happy stories about it. Where at the end, it's been this magical moment when they've noticed that turnaround, when the dog has found its comfort zone, the dog has realized that it's safe now and it's a better world. I mean, I've got cats here now living in a small apartment in the middle of downtown Toronto, and I love them, but they don't notice that.
yeah,
They do a little bit. I think there are people I know who have, but it's this amazing moment when you realize that the dog has settled and the dog has become like, oh, this is an actual life I can normally live. I don't have to be aggressive. I don't have to be on my defense all the time. It's a real. I don't throw that word out of spiritual feeling, but it's a magical kind of feeling, that you've done that for them, and all the more so that I was again to connect to my fact of living in the city and being involved with cats. That's why when we play Killer Balloon, even that it's only a couple of bucks for every screening that we do at TerribleFest, all the bucks from Killer Balloon are going to the Annex Cat Rescue that's a couple of blocks away from me. So we're continuing that part that you do to help out animals with your films, even when they're not played by you personally.
and that's awesome. I think that's great because I love helping out animals. I don't really want to make money from these movies. I've never made a dime or nickel or penny or whatever. A lot of this movies come from my own money for budget wise, and I just do it for a hobby. I love doing it just for fun.
That's another reason why I bring everyone together with TerribleFest. That I want to find. And I know there's been major films that not major's not the right word, but there's been commercial films that we brought in because I thought they were fun, so why not? But the real joy of it is finding, and especially when COVID happened and we started doing things online a little bit. We're actually not going to do anything online this year because I'm going to kind of do an experiment to kind of throw on online stuff throughout the year that's not connected, so it makes the big live show in March more special. But outside of that, what it's doing is it's connecting people who just either do it for fun, do it for a hobby, but they do it for those reasons and the passion is still there. So they're like, I can't afford to take the challenge onto another level, or I don't have the time to like get involved with that as a full-time business. But I still really, really want to do it. So these people are starting to meet each other. They're starting to like help each other out in a little bit of ways here and there. If it's not connecting them to somebody else to get their products sold, it's getting someone to finish off stuff for them. One of the guys who was doing uh, weird art shorts during, and I may have played it the same day that I played Gorfers, who played a collection of shorts this guy made called the Gut Rot Productions. And then he got contacted a couple days later, just in passing, with a guy who we won Best Film of the Year from us. So, Best Film of the Year from TerribleFest is, again, quotations. But Seb Godin won for Dino Gore the year before. So then him and Jake, who was Gut Rot, met each other, and Jake just finished doing special effects and doing an H.P. Lovecraft movie that they were doing, and they just finished it this week. So we'll be seeing their new secret project they've made together. And I can't really take credit for it, but I want to pretend that I take credit for bringing those worlds together. It makes me feel special in the long run.
It's I love the horror community that are so involved with each other. They help each other out, especially the independent one more. They seem like they're got each other's back. They try to support each other. I just love that. Even going to horror cons, I find they're very welcoming. They want to talk. Even some celebrities I meet, they talk to you more than like 2 minutes. They're not like, "Hey, get out of line."
Well, there's also, especially in the B movie fan world, we're getting people who are celebrities to us who may not be celebrities to everybody else. So they're still, through their whole career, kind of in awe that we get so excited when we see them.
Yeah.
So they want to talk, and it makes it really special. The smaller conventions that I've been to have always had that. I've had a couple of luck. Like, I had a very weird conversation with John Kassir, the Crypt Keeper, at one event when he was sort of in passing and he was signing stuff, but then he was done, and we physically bumped into each other and had this very weird conversation for a long time. The first time ever meeting Elvira at a convention, all we did is have a conversation about Diana Troy's boobs from Star Trek Next Generation because she was in a booth down the down the line. So very well, not very weird. Of course, you would have that conversation, but I think it's a special moment when you're just talking about breasts. Was that when you first meet Elvira? But outside of that, the little guys, if you go to that kind of convention and you meet the fans who want to get into it, the fact that you could be in a room with 20 burly, beardy guys with leather jackets and diacide shirts, and all they want to do is like hug and go, "Oh man, I just want to talk to you about what you do. Let's just hang out and just like be friends." If you're not part of that scene, you wouldn't understand it. It wouldn't make sense.
Exactly. I explain to people all the time. I was like, it's such a family thing, just about.
Yeah, and I mean it. So because of that, then some people think, oh well, then it's not inviting to me because I'm an outsider. No, it totally is. We're so dying to have more people involved from different walks of the world, different people who aren't like us. Especially if you're a director and you want to start making films, you want to find the people who you don't want to be that guy where your movies don't do it. Some of your movies kind of do. Mine totally do. I can't help it because, again, I'm doing the same thing. Where you're like, this is supposed to be an average group of people. This is not my friends. But then you watch the group of people and they all look like the guys who hang out at those conventions.
Yes, pretty much.
You have, and that's I think I really love from the independent groups who keep doing stuff. That's why I'm constantly bugging guys like Dungeon Entertainment to make more stuff, which I hear they are. So I'm very happy. But you get to know these people, and with mine, I set it up that I'm like, it's going to be like a comedy troupe. We're going to be recognizable people. I want them involved. I feel really egotistical when I start to make something on the go and I end up way too much in it. After a while, I decided, well, I'll make that into the joke that it's funny that I'm in it too much. So I pretend that didn't do it on purpose. Makes me feel better anyway. But I love seeing the same people in them and seeing them either evolve themselves. You can tell the ones who are really into it, so they start to grow as the new projects come on. They're not just that friend who goes, we've all got those, we're like, yeah, it's okay, I want to support you, so I'll be there. And by the fourth film you can tell they're just being there.
Yes, yeah.
All of them who are embracing it more. But it's also good to just find a random new face every time. Every time you convince someone, yeah, come just hang out with us, see if you like it, and the next thing you know, they're starring in your film.
That's how some of the actors and actresses started in Dead Praire Productions is like we didn't know who they were really, and we're like, give it a shot. If you hate it, you don't have to do it again. If you love it, we'll love to have you back again. And they're usually loving it, so they continue with us.
I've never had anyone become like from mine have become negative about it. Like there's one girl who's only in my first one ever, but we stayed friends. So I hope they come out for like our reunions for stuff because but they moved away right afterwards. But it's a great bit. We put a post on some B movie page just saying anyone wants to show up. So this girl showed up to one of our shoots and said, but she messaged me the day before going, oh, I'd love to be in it. I'm going on a blind date with some guy down in that area you're filming later on. We'll come by afterwards. So she showed up by herself, and I'm like, oh, where's your date? It was terrible. I left early. I can do more stuff now that I'm here. And we kill her in a scene where we pull off her arm. We give her a fake arm that we tear off, and then someone puts it in her butt afterwards. And I thought, that's it. We're never seeing her again. She's messing with. That's the funniest thing. Showed her to all my friends. But then a year later, she had a much better date, got married, had kids, is married, is off, moved to the other side of the country, is closer to you than to me, but is this like exact example of a mom in every way. But we just have that one evening of meeting her, and again, stayed fine, but she's literally the only one that didn't come back after that. So the joke between us is because one of us had to put a mannequin arm in her butt. And I'm like, no, it's actually not that reason. It's fine. She was okay with it.
That's awesome.
Great sports all around. Which is why I get a kick out of your guys with Swift Nightmare. I haven't seen the first one, but knowing that it's an anthology, is it as funny as some of them? Because you don't always play the funny card on your stuff. Not to the level of like, oh, do I want to get this gopher poison or do I want to get this inflatable goat? Like it's
it's a bit more serious, I'd say. It still has that whole cheesy vibes because it's like $100 budget or whatever, so yeah. You can only go so far with it. And
who is that guy in Gophers? Because he's in the sequel too. He's like some of, yeah, he's some of his dad. Who is that?
That's Big Double J, Jared. He's been in like 13 of our films.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been like one of our original. He came from Zomgeddon 1, our first film ever,
right,
as a zombie extra. And he's been with us since then.
Because there's moments where it's just him mumbling to himself, and I'm like, I could just watch that. You could just make videos of just him sitting in what seems, I'm imagining, is your basement or something. There's the basement in like Gorfers that's all movie posters and toys, and I'm like, yeah. But we all like, all of us do indie stuff. We're like, do we take this stuff off the wall? Nah, who cares?
I've used my house a lot because obviously it's free, right? So we just put it in a different setting and then go forth with it.
Oh, there's one of the dogs. Which one's that?
This is Barry, the Bernese mountain dog.
Oh, Barry the Bernese is great. Now, see, he's at least not shy of the camera. It's probably because he doesn't know.
Yeah, he's used to my weirdness with filming, so
they have great personalities too. I'm such a fan of those dogs. It's not I've seen the monkey so far in this, and I don't even think I've seen the robot in this. That's how little I pay attention to these shorts. But if anyone really does care about Monster and the Ape, you can go on YouTube and watch all 5 hours of it.
5 hours
all together. I did get a DVD and realized, why is it 5 hours long? And I'm like, I knew it was a serial, but I didn't know it was like 13 parts of a serial. You've got a lot of people just hanging out and talking and going, oh, I'm guy in the black hat. I'm guy in the not so black hat. That must mean I'm the good guy. And plenty of this William Shatner style fighting.
It has to be like that Charlie Chaplin too.
Well, it's only because again this copy's so digital that seems to be missing frames more than usual. But it's just like every Dick Tracy thing, and then every so often a robot and a gorilla show up, and they're like so unrelated. At some point they have to fight. I imagine it's anything like the classic Mexican film, the Aztec Mummy versus the robot, and they meet for 5 seconds at the end, and the Aztec Mummy just tears the robot's arms off and leaves. Spoiler, anyone who hasn't seen that movie. But and we're playing Killer Balloon. Was perfect to come out was like you started talking about making it like just after It 2's the sequel to It 2's remake came
Yeah.
out. But it's and a spoiler for this for anybody, which I think is not a spoiler. I think this is a sales point of a mystery red balloon that's killing people, but the balloon talks.
Yeah.
It we did play. I'm not sure if you've seen Carousel. There's also a
Yes.
Carousel 2 out now. But we did the first Carousel in like the 2019 TerribleFest, and it got the audience, all the giggles, all the same are there. The balloon is just about as darkly sarcastic.
Carousel and Killer Pinata were a big inspiration, I find, too, for the Killer Balloon. I got the humor kind of a bit from them. I was like, man,
Mhm.
these movies are funny. I love them.
And again, which is great in these of seeing recognizable faces from of your other stuff from there. A definitely recognizable location. That the kitchen alone is familiar from the Gorfer films, I believe. So I it was, and yes, it's dumbed down a film. It's played to be silly,
Yep.
but getting through it, I'm just like, you will do what those other films do, where they're like you will not expect that this kind of undangerous thing can be dangerous, but by the end of that film, you will believe that that is dangerous. That somehow it will make you question a random floating balloon in a different way than it. It will actually make you think that the balloon itself is going to kill you.
I um I started to think about the idea back when we were doing Vile Spirit. We weren't finished filming yet, but I was like, man, what's a movie that's never really been done and it's just so out there? And I was like, should I have a voice for this balloon or should I not? And I was like, I probably should have a voice to make it more of a personality for that balloon. And I think the voicing helped a lot with that balloon.
Sometimes, especially in those other films that we mentioned, I feel like some of it got old because the is like waka waka jokes constantly, which is what we're there for. But then you're like, oh, it's the dichotomy of the two things clashing, the like serious moment of it being dangerous, and then the release, like the Freddy Krueger kind of joke. But Freddy needs to be a little scary first before he can say those lines, which
Yes.
those movies don't bother to do that. But and I don't know if you did it on purpose, but you do with the balloon. That's what's great about it, that it actually does have moments where this is just a weird, eerie thing that's happening, and then random comedic line.
The one liners that are like dark, very dark lines. Sometimes I was like, we had to put a warning on our Killer Balloon movie because we had a few people not too happy with it. So
And I was going to say, is that the reason why I'm not streaming everything online this year? No, actually, everything's probably more on the up and up this year than most years for us. Even cocaine snorting crabs from outer space that plays the next day. So you're in good company this year. You will
awesome.
be playing right before Bloodsick Psychosis, though, which is probably the movie that has the most warnings for us on there. So again, you're in the right company at least.
That's good. I was testing some waters there just to see how the reactions would be with some people at the showing. And I was like, they never really got offended, but they're like, you just about crossed that line a few times. I was like, oh, that's good. So I can keep going farther then.
Yeah, you still got some room. At some point, you have to cross the line at least once or twice.
Oh,
If
exactly.
you cross the line from the beginning of the film to the end of the film, well, then nobody knows what to do anymore. But yeah, yeah, exactly. We may be all creepy weirdos making these films, but we still have taste, people.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, you got to keep your extras and your film actors coming back for more. You can't weird them out too much that they don't want to come and party with you.
They still want to keep on coming. They love doing it. They're all volunteers. No one gets paid. It's nonprofit. It's been doing it for about 11 years now. Raised about $27,000 for SBCA over the years from DVDs and movies.
What did you just win an award for recently? What was that?
I won the Queen's Jubilee Medal, and that was just given to a few people in Saskatchewan, just for what I've done for the community in Saskatchewan. It was a really cool award. I
Yeah.
never won an award in my life, so it was like, this is a very good honor. I like this.
We're getting a clap from here, sir. Thank
Yeah.
you for all the things you're doing for all the furry friends out there, and for us weirdos to keeping us entertained. We will keep spreading the word and keep getting more of this good stuff out there, so it can do more good for the community too.
Oh,
Like,
exactly.
what's so impressive, the oddness of our shirts when we're saying most horror movie fans are wearing Diacide shirts. You're wearing Stevo, but I'm wearing a Wings Hauser shirt. So
Nice.
so we keep the B movies. There are B movies out there that are not just horror films, folks, but a lot of the fun ones are. So we'll see everyone that can make it out on Terrible Fest in March, and we will see you, Devon, very soon. Again, what's you? Is there's a .com for you guys, right? Is there deadprairproductions.com, or
We
what's the best way
don't
to catch you?
we don't have a website, but we have Facebook, we have Instagram, we got the TikTok and Twitter. We got all that social media stuff.
So if they want to order any of the films from you, that just hit you up on Dead Prairies on Instagram, it's just like a best
Yep.
place to do so. Okay.
Instagram, Facebook, wherever they go on social media the most, they can contact me. It's not that hard to find me, so
And I know myself because someone in the States actually who watches my videos was one of the people who got Gorfers 2, and I saw the cover and I was like, oh, I need this. And then you just sent me both of them on a whim, like, and you answered right away and sent me both of them, and I was like, okay. And then since then I've got the Zombie Geddons, and now we're getting into the rest of the blood on there. So which is great because again, after that, then all of a sudden I saw on a couple other American social medias like a couple of weeks later on, oh, there's Gore First 2 popping up on other people's Instagram posts. So it's
yeah,
all about us pimping out each other's stuff, and we'll keep on doing that.
that's awesome. I appreciate that. That's sweet. I love the horror community. I love the B movies. It's a great thing to have.
Thanks for being part of it, Devon. Again, everybody else, we'll see you soon. And yeah, if you actually do want to pay attention to Monster and the Ape, I'll post the link to the episode separately. It may have appeared choppy in little parts of it. If I find a better version, I'll fix it. If not, who cares? We weren't really paying attention anyway. We were just having fun. It's like an old movie theater. We just went out there so we could be in the dark and make fun of something.
Mystery Science Theater.
Yeah, that's what we do here. All right. Thanks again, Devon. Have a great one. We'll talk to you again soon.
See you guys.